What's up, Wisconsin? Welcome back to the Inside Wisconsin Show here on YouTube and wherever you listen to podcasts. Trevor Thomas, John Anderson in the same city as we speak. Welcome home, J.A. Good to see you, man.
Yes, coming. Usually I'm in the bureau. I'm in the Connecticut Bureau. I've been in the Missouri Bureau. Here I'm just in my mom's kitchen. That's it. And if you can see the nice, look, there's nothing but good old Wisconsin outdoors out that window right there.
There's some deer back there. This I know for sure.
Yep. But we saw one the other day and my mom's like, go hide, get out of there. Watch yourself. So
get in my freezer.
Yep. Yeah. That's your case. Yeah. Get in my sight. But nope. So I am here coming. Yeah. Live, at least at the moment, from my mother's kitchen. I think though that screams I'm still as Wisconsin as they come.
Yep. You are from mom's kitchen. That's fantastic.
Coming from my mom's kitchen.
We got to go to a Packer game, you and I together, and Amanda, and unfortunately, Tam was under the weather. We missed her.
Went well, though. Good for us. That was awesome.
Yeah.
And then, honestly, I think what what most people saw as a nice 4-touchdown significant win over the 49ers, obviously, I saw as the Lucas Van Ness coming out party.
Amazing game. I'm onto something.
Unbelievable. But the problem is, I think the strip sack overshadowed his really outstanding play on special teams. He was very good on the punt unit, kickoff coverage. Yeah. So, but your boy, who you have deemed as outside of Jordan Love, the best Packer on the team, had a big strip sack.
Starting to prove it. He got a shout out in the locker room.
He's starting to prove it. The guest we have on today, Bryan Bulaga, came in as the number 1 pick from Iowa and started 10 games on an offensive line that was laden with really good guys.
According to Matt LaFleur,
is redshirted his first year here, got to play a little. They traded away a dude so that he could have a spot, and still is sort of seeing select duty.
And we are about to have a coming out.
We are not here to make fun of Lucas Van Ness.
No,
that I will do only in front of you during the game. We're here to celebrate the great career of Bryan Bulaga, who, despite some injuries in there, I mean, that guy persevered a bunch. Like, he didn't just ever I have a sore toe. Like, that guy, when he was missing games, it's like, I ripped my ACL. That's why I can't come. But boy, when he was in, he was good.
What did you say? There's an abbreviation, BHA?
He's a BHA, but so most of the time the BHA, best Hawkeye available, that's how you draft. That's more of a term for guys like Micah Hyde, right? First-round picks are just really good. You got to get guys like maybe Mike Daniels. Remember Mike Daniels was here? Or Micah Hyde. Those guys are BHA. You're like, what are we going to do late? What's on our board? And they're like, it's the 6th round. Take the BHA. Give me the best Hawkeye available.
Best Hawkeye. And he was a good one.
He was
a lot of years here in Green Bay and a lot of really cool stories. Let's jump in. Former Green Bay Packer offensive lineman Bryan Bulaga,
and now teammate of mine. Now we do radio together. He and I.
That's right, teammate. Yeah. That's right.
I apologize in advance to the audience and to you, Trev. You're in with a couple of guys that just talk too much.
Here we go.
The Inside Wisconsin Show is brought to you by American Family Insurance, Blaine's Farm and Fleet, Capital Credit Union, Amplify Health, Festival Foods, Quick Trip, Legit Pizza, Miller Lite, North Star Mohican Casino Resort, and the University of Wisconsin-Platteville.
Hey, remember to subscribe on YouTube, leave a review, smash the like button, just get with us. That's Bryan Bulaga. He played at Iowa, in case you weren't positive on that, and the Packers, and some other team. We won't talk about that. Mr. Bulaga. Bryan, good to see you, man. Thanks for joining us.
No problem. Appreciate you guys having me on. It's a pleasure.
So I'll be honest. I had no idea about this Bryan Bulaga Iowa thing until Trevor told it to me yesterday, and so it's not where I'd start. But now I feel like since Trevor brought it up out of the blue,
sorry,
I don't know. Why is there something to that? You just said your name and you went to school. What's the thing? What am I missing?
Man, it blew up. I don't know. It caught fire, and I don't know what it was. I remember I think it was probably around 2014 or maybe 15. I remember just on my phone and my Twitter, I started getting a notification, and someone made a video of me just saying my name over and over on every Sunday night game. And it was something about the way I said Iowa that it just caught fire. And now, anytime I do anything, people just respond to me, Iowa. Well, it's just like, all right, hey, you're remembered for something, right? I mean, whether it was good play, bad play, or my intro on Sunday Night Football, whatever it is, hey, you got to be remembered for something. So if that's what it is, it's a positive one. Packer fans will remember that. So that's always at least a plus that I have there.
You were never one of these guys that contemplated like, oh, I'll say my high school or I'll say my peewee team or anything like that.
No, I was always gonna say my college. I was very proud to, play at the University of Iowa and play for Kirk Ferentz. I was never gonna say any of those other things. I mean, listen, I enjoyed being at my high school and all that. Like, I was proud of that, but I wear being a Hawkeye, badge of honor. I think there's a lot of great players that have played there and have played in the NFL. So I think it's a thing that you should be proud of. At least I hope guys that, that get to do that. There's not many that get to say their name in their college on Sunday Night Football, right? Like, let's just call it what it is, right? But not many people get to do it. So I hope that they're proud of, where they went to school and what they represent. So that's the way I looked at it.
Or Chico State Junior College or whatever some people have.
Yeah. Some people, yeah. I mean, Aaron would say Butte Community, I think he would say sometimes. Yeah, he would say that. So, hey, I get it.
By the way, so I looked at your high school stats. How is it you ended up as a tackle and you didn't push to be a defensive end or a tight end?
Yeah, so great question. So I remember Wisconsin recruited me as a D lineman. I knew I wasn't going to be fast enough and like explosive enough. Wisconsin wanted me to be a 3-tech. I think Notre Dame wanted me to be a defensive lineman, but Notre Dame told me like, oh, you're like our 5th D lineman. So if all these other 4 guys say no to us, then we'll give you an offer at defensive line. I was like, okay. And then I said no. And then I commit to Iowa. They see me play my senior year. And then they see me play against one of their guys that was going to Notre Dame. And then they start, they come in and they want to offer me a scholarship to play offensive line. I was already committed to Iowa at the time to play offensive line. Like, that's what, Kirk Ferentz and Reese Morgan and that's what they were telling me I was going to do. So in high school, my senior year, we were a left tackle short. I mean, we had all the other positions covered. We were a left tackle short. So I was like, you know what? I'll do it. I'm probably going to play offensive line at Iowa or somewhere at tackle at Iowa. So I'll just play left tackle. I'll do it. Like, we had 2 tight ends. I'm like, I'll bite the bullet. I'll do it. Even though it's my senior year, I want to score touchdowns, but whatever. I'll play. And it worked out really well, right? Like, I played good there. It was actually a real positive for me because it got me a little, learning experience to what life is like playing that position. I mean, granted, you're going against high school kids and not college athletes and Big Ten, defensive ends, but you kind of learn the ins and outs of offensive line play. And I never done it, right? I mean, I
benefited me because I learned how to play the position. My offensive line coach in high school, he played offensive tackle at University of Northern Iowa. So he was a college offensive lineman. So I got to learn a lot about the position before I got to Iowa. I wasn't going to Iowa, super, unprepared. But what was funny when I got to Iowa, because they knew I was a tight end and I would have liked to play tight end. My first day in the summer, when I got there early as a freshman, the summer before I started, we were doing skills and drills, right? We got done working out. We did skills and drills. That was something we'd go on the field and position groups would break off. And I remember we break it down and Coach Ferentz tells me, hey, Bryan, go over with the tight ends to start. I'm like, oh, wow, really? Okay. So I jog over with the tight ends, literally 30 seconds in with the tight ends. Coach Doyle, the strength coach, comes over. He goes, all right, Bryan, you're coming with me with the offensive lineman. 30 seconds. I was back with the offensive lineman, and that was my opportunity. And I got 30 seconds, and I was back with the lineman. So that's just the way it went. And I knew it was going to go that way. So when he said go with the tight ends, I was actually kind of shocked, but it was what it was. And I, a part of me knew that was probably going to be the path. I wasn't fast enough to be a tight end or like a lot of people, after the fact, JJ Watt was a super athletic guy and couldn't you have seen yourself, be a 3-tech or a 4-tech like him? And I look at him like, dude, JJ Watt and I are not the same athlete. All right. Like, let's call this really what this is. Like, I've gone against JJ Watt a bunch, right, in my career. In college and in the pros, and we are not the same, right? He is a freak show of an athlete. I am not that guy. I'm an offensive lineman. I'm an athletic offensive lineman, but I am not a defensive lineman. So I think I made the right choice. But, colleges, I feel like, will say anything to try to get you in the door. I think no matter what, eventually I probably would have ended up where I ended up on the offensive line. But when guys make position changes late in their career in college, it normally doesn't end well. So, I was happy that they knew I was going to go there, like at offensive line, and they put me there immediately, and it worked out.
That happens a lot. See, Trevor doesn't know all these things. Like, he doesn't probably know who Mark Bortz is, who was a great defensive lineman at Iowa that ended up on the defensive line, ended up on the Bears offensive lineman in '85 with Jay Hilgenberg and stuff. You don't know that, Trevor, but trust me, these things happen.
No, I don't know that. Shocker. I know. So is that ultimately what made you choose Iowa over Wisconsin? Because eventually Wisconsin owned you. I mean, you had to come here and play for the Packers, but that would have been cool to have you wear the red and cardinal and the white.
Yeah, when it came, it did. Bilma, he was, hard selling towards the end, right? He was making a hard sale, and he visited my house a bunch towards the end of, the recruiting window. It just what it was. And they were pushing hard for me to play defensive line. It was something that, that they saw me doing, or he saw me doing. And I don't know if this is true or not, but there was a rumor for a long time, especially, as an Illinois kid, that Wisconsin only starts Wisconsin kids on their offensive line. Like, it's like a tradition there. Like, normally only Wisconsin kids play on the offensive line. And I don't know if that's a fact to today or if that's like a well-known fact, but that's just like what the rumor was, right? So in the back of my head, I was like, even if they do switch me, like, what's my opportunity here? And it was funny, probably like 3 or 4 days before signing day, right? Like, before I was already committed to Iowa, he called me and said, "You know what, Bryan, I think you can play offensive line here at Wisconsin." And I was just like, I think that I was like, in my mind, I think this is a little too late to be telling me now I can play offensive line at Wisconsin. It's like, it just didn't seem, it just didn't seem right? Like, it seemed like way too late in the game to be just like saying that, when the whole time I was recruited as a defensive lineman, which is okay, but I didn't see myself in that light at that point in time. But listen, I loved the school. I loved Madison. I went there a bunch. I had a buddy, Zach Lambo, who played soccer there. So I went and visited him a bunch. He was my brother's age. My brother went to Platteville. So I'd go to Madison and, experience the nightlife from time to time there. The campus was great. I thought the stadium atmosphere was really good. I enjoyed my time there. It's just, there was something about Iowa and Kirk Ferentz and kind of just the program there that drew me, and that's the way it ended up. And it was no knock on what Wisconsin had going. Like, at the time when Bilma was there, and really Alvarez before, the programs mirrored each other, right? Like, you would line up against Wisconsin and it would be like you were going against yourself. And that's how it felt for a long time playing them. And that's why those games were so compelling for such a long time, because, like, you would prepare for that week and you knew exactly what was going to happen. You knew exactly the type of game it was going to be because it was like going against yourself, and it was going to be super physical. It was going to be running the football, and like chances are like it was going to be a close game towards the end. I mean, obviously, my freshman season, I think we lost by a couple scores in Madison. And then my second and third year, we blew you out in Iowa City. And then my third year, I think we blew you out in Madison.
I'm aware.
But
thanks for bringing it up, man.
But besides that, it was always going to be a physical, like tough game. And I enjoyed that. So like, I got a ton of respect for the University of Wisconsin. They do things the right way there. And I truly hope that they get back to where they were, 8 to 10 years ago. Because I think it's good for the Big Ten if they do.
I don't think people realize how prevalent what Hayden did there, Hayden Fry, kind of spread across the country, whether it was Barry that was on his staff, or Bill Snyder that was on his staff, or Bob Stoops who played for him one time. Like there are people everywhere that are rooted in that program, to be sure. So would you rather beat the Badgers, or would you rather beat Minnesota and win the pick?
I always thought I always put way more stock in the Wisconsin game. I just always did. I thought the Wisconsin game was more important because I always thought Wisconsin was a better team, right? Like I don't think we lost to Minnesota once. At least in my time there, we never lost to Minnesota. So I always put a ton of stock in that Wisconsin game because it was a measuring stick, right? Like because if you beat Wisconsin, you're having a pretty good season because Wisconsin was always going to have like 9 wins. And if you beat Wisconsin, that means you're going to have around 9 to 10 wins. So like it always would be a good measuring stick for how you're doing in your season. So I took a lot of stock in that game. And in Minnesota, my fondest memory of Minnesota, it was their last game in the Dome, the old Minnesota. Yep. And I think we beat them. I think it might have been 50-0 or maybe 14. That was Sean Green. That was my sophomore year with Sean Green. I mean, he might have ran for 250 yards and 3 or 4 touchdowns. I mean, we just absolutely bludgeoned them. Like it was just an absolute, just a smoke show in their final game in that building. It was absolutely amazing. Like it was so funny. Because their fans were really into it. It was their last game in the Dome. They were really loud. And we just went out there, just ran the ball, I think like 40 times and just bludgeoned them. And like every time Sean touched the ball, it was like 10 yards, like 10-yard gain, 10-yard gain, 10-yard gain. We might've thrown the ball 15 times. Like it was fun, but that was like one of my fondest memories of, because obviously I played there with Minnesota, right? Like against the Vikings, and I hated playing the Vikings there. That was miserable. But playing the Gophers there that was my fondest memory, playing them, because it was such a beatdown.
So you declare for the draft, and the draft is coming to Green Bay. Like what was draft like night when you finally got the call?
I was relieved. Super relieved. And because it was, you go through all the emotions, right? Like where you're projected to go, and then those teams start passing on you, and then more teams trade up that you thought you would go to, and you think you're going to go to them, and then they take someone else, and like you just start to slide essentially, and you're like, okay, well now I have absolutely no idea where I'm going to go now. Like this is now you start to get towards the back end of the draft where the teams are good, right? And then you realize, okay, I'm not going to a bad team now. I'm going to a good team. But, what are the needs of these good teams, right? You start looking at, especially your agents, they start looking at what are the needs of these good teams, and what do good teams normally stock up on, right? And you look at that, and normally good teams stock up on, the things that are essential. Linemen, corners, pass rushers normally is what they stock up on, because throughout a season, that's normally what you need. And that's how you build for the future of a franchise, is having young talent that continues to come through in those positions. And Green Bay's always done that really well. For the most part, you look at guys for them, they replenish those positions really well. So when I got the call from them, I was obviously, I knew the rivalry between the Bears and Packers really well. It was funny. I was training at API in Arizona for the combine, and I went to that Packers Cardinals playoff game that, a tip pass and Arizona ran it back to win the game. So I was at that game. So I got to watch that entire football game, and I got to watch Aaron Rodgers and how good he played and see that offense. And, it was unbelievable. So I got to watch that, and I was like, man, that offense was dynamic. Like, this team's really good. Then you do a little more research on it, and then you see okay, you see Mark Tauscher and Chad Clifton. Like, they're veteran tackles. So from a mindset standpoint, these are their guys. Like, they're not getting rid of these guys. They're staying. These are two veteran tackles. They're not cutting them. So I'm going to essentially, what I didn't get to do in college, I'm redshirting. That's essentially what you just have to be humbled really quick in the NFL. Like, if you're not willing to be humbled, you're going to get eaten up. And especially in the offensive line room, because that's what you need to be going into that room is a humble dude and just learn. And that's the way I approached it. And I thought it was a great opportunity, right, to learn from Cliff and Tausch and see the way two veteran guys did it. And so it was very exciting especially because it was only 3 hours away from my hometown, right? Like, I knew I was in the Midwest. I went from, grew up in Illinois, went to Iowa, now to Wisconsin. I was staying in this little triangle through my entire playing career, from high school to college to the pros. And it was really awesome because my parents got to see, I knew my parents were going to get to see me play all the time. And my now wife's parents lived in Illinois, so they got to come up. And so it was a really great just situation. And once I rolled into Green Bay for the first time, because I've never been there, and I crossed over the bridge coming from Illinois, and I saw the stadium, I was like, this is really cool. Like, in a small town, then this giant stadium appears out of nowhere. Like, this is really cool. Like, this is great. This is exactly what you would hope to find as a pro, because there's no distractions. It's all football. You're not in a big city. This is perfect for me. And I really like that. And for me, that Midwest feel, small town is the perfect environment for football. That's what it is. And I was super excited. That's the best way I could describe it, especially once I stepped foot in Green Bay. It was fantastic.
Felt like home right away. One more quick one before we go to break. When's the last time you were back? That was the beginning. You retired in 2023 as a Packer. Have you been back since?
Well, I was back last year for the Chargers game. That was the last time I went back, was for that game. Because I did the retirement thing there. I was back before that because I went and watched Man City play Bayern Munich there. So I've been back I've been back twice in 2 years. It changes every time I go. I feel like more and more gets built. It looks more modern every time I go, which, it's a little, I kind of like the older feel that it had, but hey, I get times change, things, get, modernized, and there's a draft coming and it needs to be more, I guess, up to date, which I get it, but there was something about the charm of Green Bay. Like, when I was a rookie and you pull up to the stadium, there's that little donut shop on the corner right there, off Oneida, right next to the stadium. That, it was just something about it, right? It was these mom and pop shops right next to this NFL stadium, right? It was just unbelievable. It was so cool to see that kind of atmosphere. But now it's changed. And listen, they've done a great job with everything around that stadium. It is such a cool experience to go there and just walk around. I think it's the best experience in the NFL.
So you're like my son. You went to the game at City, and you got to see Erling Haaland score the first goal. That's all he says. I got to see his first goal. I'm like, I know it counts. He goes, I saw his first goal. There's it was real quick. You talked about, you named off guys like Clifton, and you had Tauscher. And then you had a bunch of other guys though that knew their way, right? Some old horses that knew, whether it's TJ Lang or Sitton was there and Wells were there. So what was that like coming in as a rookie and a first round pick? Were they good guys? Did they make you buy donuts at the corner shop? Like, how did you get treated?
Oh yeah, I mean they were rough on me, especially as a first round pick. Like I had to do a lot, and I was expecting that. Like that was something that I knew was going to happen. Like, and especially in O-line room, like you just gotta be ready. And like my first experience with them in OTAs, and I mean I knew like the way City and TJ were like this is and Breno Giacomini was in there at the time, like just characters, man, like guys that. And Alan Barber and Scott and Darren College. I mean, Jason Spitz, like, I mean, tons of veteran guys, like bunch of veteran. That's why I said earlier, like I had to learn to be humble really quick, because if I wasn't, those guys would have ate me up. Like they would have. And like, you want to come in and earn those guys respect. Right. And that's just like shutting up, working. Like if they want you to go get donuts, they want you to just do it. Right, like everyone's got to do it as a rookie. Just do it, and listen. You got to do it one time, and just deal with it. And that's the way I looked at it. And I will say, the stress of getting food for away games on the plane was a lot to handle. Right, like you already don't want to be late getting on the plane for a road game, and then having to run to a restaurant to get everyone's order correct, and then get to the plane on time, but then not get there too early so that the food's cold and they're all mad at you about it. And then it was super stressful. Like we'll just put it, that was the most stressful thing, was getting the food to the airplane. Like it drove me nuts. Then guys would be mad when like I didn't want pickles on my burger. I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. Like I didn't make it. Like I was sorry. Like, but no, I mean, it was the O-line room is different than any other room.
You're a demented bunch. You really are.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's a different group of dudes. It's just what it is.
Man. All right, more on that when we get back from our first break. Bryan Bulaga, the Inside Wisconsin Show. Hang on.
The Inside Wisconsin Show is brought to you by American Family Insurance, Blaine's Farm and Fleet, Capital Credit Union, Amplify Health, Festival Foods, Quick Trip, Legit Pizza, Miller Lite, North Star Mohican Casino Resort, and the University of Wisconsin-Platteville.
Hey, remember to subscribe on YouTube, leave a review, smash the like button, just get with us. All right, J.A., so we're through turkey season. Are you allowed to bring a ham now? Like, are hams okay for Christmas meal?
I guess, hopefully at Christmas. They may put me off till Easter. You never know. They're patronizing me. That's what happens here. So I tried very hard to bring a ham to our holiday, because not everybody likes turkey. I think. Anyway, so I offered to bring a ham. It was a generous offer. I was being a really good guy. And I was rebuffed and ridiculed over this. So, we're going to have some family squabbles, but that's fine. I'm a bigger man than those that would not accept my ham.
The question is, do you help with the dishes? I think that's where most of the family squabbles come from, is when the going gets tough after the meal and there's a lot of dishes to take care of.
I don't know. Since I'm here at the house, my mom likes to throw me out of her kitchen a lot of the time. So we'll see what happens, but I don't shy away from it. I don't go run and hide. I don't go, I got to watch this game. I can't do that. I'm very willing to help and do what I can, but it's okay. The thing I wonder is, like, sometimes you like eat the turkey. Here's what I would get: these people get out of bed and they have the turkey trot, right? Like, I just want to lay down.
Yeah, there's nothing about me that wants to run
right,
on a
who
holiday.
wants to go run? That's just, are you kidding me? Anyway.
Proud of them, though. Festival Foods raised a lot of money again this year for charities all across the state. All right, so Festival Foods can help with your holiday meal planning if you do get in this.
Right? We got another one right on top of it. Boom, let's go. We're into Christmas.
Festfoods.com/holiday-meals. Help them help you. You can order online. You can pick up. There's dates available. You don't have to do it all yourself. Festival Foods exists to help you. Your holiday meals are awesome.
They make it disgustingly easy.
Yeah, it's
right. Like you can do it online. Here it is. Go pick it up. Like Like it's just, and I'm sure if you pay the right guy, they'll bring it to you as well. Like it's just, yeah, it's you want to talk about really it's not just the one-stop shopping, it's the service in general.
Look at this. There is a deluxe ham dinner you can order for your Christmas meal.
Listen, I've offered
maple
ham. Cured, spiral cut. I made a lot of offers and nothing. And by the way, now, as you know, now that we're past turkey butter season, you can get the Christmas tree butter. I don't know if you've seen that.
Oh, no. Do they have that? I'm sure they have it.
Oh, yeah. They got a Christmas tree butter, too.
You may not. 2.5 pounds of creamy green bean casserole, JA. Boom. Festival Foods.
That would be great. You can order it, and then you can eat all 2.5 pounds of it. You can have it all, dude.
I will.
Have at it.
Have at it with Festival Foods this holiday season. Help them meal plan your holiday meal. Festfoods.com/holiday-meals with Festival Foods. Time for another top 5 list here on the Inside Wisconsin show, presented by the University of Wisconsin-Platteville. They had a Bulaga. Our renowned engineering and STEM programs over there at UW-Platteville offer a cutting-edge environment with over 60 majors to choose from, plus with exciting clubs and organizations. They're always fun on campus to be had. Discover why UW-Platteville is a smart investment. Apply now. University of Wisconsin-Platteville. JA, I was actually just back on campus. I didn't see any Bulaga statues or anything, so I don't know how it went. However, UW-Platteville is the WEAC champions of 2024. So They had a phenomenal football season. Real quick story, and then we're going to jump into the top 5 list. Remember, my brother played at UW-Whitewater, right?
Correct.
And his center was a guy by the name of Brent Allen. And so I'm there at UW-Platteville, getting a tour of campus, catching up with people, met the football coach, and here walks Brent Allen in. He's their offensive coordinator at UW-Platteville. And so I text my brother and say, hey, who is your starting center? He says, Brent Allen. I sent him a picture of us hanging out in the football office and going, hey, just here hanging out with the champs. And he said, tell him he looks chubby and blue. So not a big Platteville fan.
Purple is such a slimming color.
Right. Congrats to them. Amazing season. All right. So apparently it's my quiz time. I quizzed you last time on the hunting. You didn't do too bad, by the way. I thought you did pretty well. Interesting
stuff when it came to. By the way, I saw our boy watching the local news during deer season. I turned on one of the local news stations here in Green Bay, and I'm like, oh, look, there's our guy. Like, he's perfect. Deer specialist. That's our man when he comes through. So this is not now where you were. Your goal is always to stump me in some way, shape, or form, and that's totally fine. I get it. You had to use an animal to do it, but that's cool. I just thought with Bulaga and him winning the Super Bowl championship, right? I just thought we should see how much people know about the Super Bowl trophy.
Okay.
All right. So this isn't really a quiz to stump. This is just a quiz to inform. Okay. How's that? Okay.
I'm still feeling.
So if you were listening, do you remember how much it weighs, the Super Bowl trophy?
7 pounds.
Right. So how tall is it?
I'm going to say 28 inches.
Close. 22 inches.
Damn.
Yeah, you weren't close at all. This isn't like if it's the horn of the deer, 2, 3, or 4. It's 22 inches tall.
Okay.
So originally, for many years, right, they presented that trophy, Brent Musburger, whoever it was, Lindsay, and they presented it to the owner in the locker room.
Yeah.
It was only recently that they put him out on the stage and gave it to him in the field. Do you know what year is the first year they put it out on the field, or what Super Bowl it was?
I don't know the Super Bowl, but I think it was 1992.
No, it was later than that. It was Super Bowl 30. So that would be 96, because I'm always the same age as the Super Bowl. That's why I remember what Super Bowl is. I'm 59. This year will be Super Bowl 59. Super Bowl 30, Cowboys Steelers. The first guy that got handed to was Jerry Jones. How gross is that?
Shocker.
The only good thing is it's the last time he's also touched the Super Bowl trophy, which makes it really fun.
That's my favorite stat of the game so far.
Where's it made?
Pittsburgh.
No, it's sterling silver. It's not made out of steel, and they have 6 of them, but that's not it.
Barely good guess. I mean, there's only 50 states and 1,000
Right. So you had a 2% chance of getting right and swing and a miss. So Tiffany makes it, Tiffany and Company. It used to be made in New Jersey the first couple of years. It is now made in Cumberland, Rhode Island. These are things you didn't know.
Okay.
Here's one you should know, right? The first 2 years that the Packers won it, it was not the Lombardi Trophy.
It was not.
What was the inscription? Because now it says Vince Lombardi Trophy. What was the first inscription on it?
Did Mom just give it away? World champions? I was going to guess.
No, and as always, relatives of members of the show are ineligible to play.
Okay, got it. I was going to guess.
It's close.
AFL,
She's on the right
NFL
track.
Champions. AFL, NFL champions?
They had both logos on it. World Professional Football Championship.
Oh, interesting.
World Professional Football Championship. Okay? So with that, when it becomes the Vince Lombardi Trophy, what team was presented the first Vince Lombardi Trophy? Which team? This is the money one right here. Who was the first team to be presented the Vince Lombardi Trophy?
I might get this right. Is it the New York Jets?
No. The Jets won Super Bowl III. The Chiefs won Super Bowl IV, and the answer is Super Bowl V. Do you remember who played in Super Bowl V? Does the name Jim Turner mean anything to you? Who kicked the game-winning field goal in that?
No.
Super Bowl V, the Baltimore Colts beat the Dallas Cowboys, and the Baltimore Colts got the first ever Lombardi Trophy. It's after Super Bowl V in 1971. What's crazier still is, remember, they moved in the middle of the night. The old Mayflower truck came in the snow and moved them to Indianapolis. In the legal settlement between the city and the franchise, the Super Bowl trophy stayed in Baltimore.
Oh, wow.
That's just a bonus for you.
Interesting.
You did all right. Mom was okay.
Yeah. Thanks for the help.
Should Mom make an appearance? Collins made an appearance. You want to just stick your head in here real quick? Come on.
Yeah, we should probably meet.
You can't just be this voice in the back end. Oh, sir. Now she's not going to be in. Now she's not in one.
Yeah, but come on, Mrs. Collins,
I know.
please.
She was this woman was at the Ice Bowl.
Yeah, and we talk about her all the time on the show. She just doesn't know it.
Right. Because she didn't know how to. She can't figure out how to use the electronic ticket on her phone to get in. She's never finding a podcast. This is fine. I could say whatever I want. She'd never see the light of day.
We're back, the Inside Wisconsin show. Trevor John, Bryan Bulaga, former Green Bay Packer. Bryan, you were talking about the O-line room, and you mentioned Breno. I'm curious if you remember this. Breno signed with Seattle. That year, you guys won the Super Bowl, and I was with him when he was cleaning out his locker. And do you remember he wrote a message on the whiteboard in the O-line room that said, when you guys win the Super Bowl, remember to think of me, or something along those lines? I was with him when he wrote it. Do you remember that?
He did write some long message, and it was hilarious. It was an absolute hilarious message. It was in Breno fashion. We'll just put it that way. If anyone knows Breno, it was in Breno fashion, especially the ending of that message. It was typical him. But yeah, so you were in that room with him. That's funny. But
literally standing right next to him when he wrote it. Did funny. The end of that message say "nah" with the whole belt thing, I think, or something along those lines? Anyway, what a blast!
It had to do something with horses. I'll just put it that way. I'll just leave it at that. It had something to do with horses, and it always did with Breno, because he's from Louisville. So right. Always had something to do with that. But you know what I'm talking about.
Sure do. I was there. It was amazing. So, all right, though, that's your rookie season, and you go and win a Super Bowl in your rookie season, which is friggin' unheard of. Tell us what that was like, and I guess you learned how just rare it is, right?
Yeah, it was surreal. I remember it being clear, like it happened, yesterday. That's how, vividly I remember it. And the fact that I never got back to another one, that's what burns me the most. Because I thought we always had teams to do it. But I remember the playoff run, what, the sequence, like obviously beating Chicago to get in, right? Like, well, I knew we had to beat Chicago and we had to beat the Giants too to get to that 10-6 record to get in. But I remember once we got in and we went to Philly, we beat Philly, and I remember sitting on the bench as time was expiring, and looked over at Cliffy, and Cliffy's like, you got to enjoy this. You got to enjoy this, Big Blue, because playoff games are hard to win. They're hard to win, so you got to enjoy this one. And I'm like, I'm a rookie. I'm like, oh, won another game, great. Like, hey, yeah, cool. Beat Philly.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, we beat Philly earlier in the year. We beat them again. Hey, just another game. Sweet. On to the next game, I guess, right? And I knew the next game we were playing the 1 seed in the Falcons. Like, they were really good. We lost to them earlier in the year by a field goal, so I knew we could play with them, right? Like, I knew we could, hang with them and play with them and potentially beat them if we played a really clean game, which we didn't do in the first game. We had some mistakes. So I was confident that we could do it. And then we went there and we did what we did to them.
Whew.
And I was like, whoa, like what? And then you're going to an NFC Championship game. You're one game away from it, and you're like, wow, like what we just did to the Falcons is not normal. Like what that was against the 1 seed, a 6 seed to a 1 seed, that's not normal. Like, that shouldn't happen. And that's when the locker room, like the mentality in the locker room, started to change to more like, hey, now, like it started to get more of that mentality of that. This is the 1 seed. We're the 1 seed. Like, we expect now to go into these places and win. Like, this is ours. We feel like this is our turn to kind of feel that momentum on us. Like, we're not the underdogs anymore. Like, we can play like that, but we feel like we can go anywhere and beat anyone. And we knew playing Chicago, like, it was going to be tough. Like, they beat us in Chicago, then obviously we beat them at home. So we knew it was going to be a tough game. We understood it, but we knew it was a winnable game. Like, we knew it was going to be a battle, but we knew it was a winnable game. And then when it happened, it was just so crazy. I mean, we all know the rivalry, right? Like, everyone loved the Bears-Packers rivalry, but to have that be an NFC Championship, to decide which one of those goes to a Super Bowl is like crazy, right? That's like, it's like fairy tale type stuff. Like, that's what the NFL hopes to have happen every year in each conference, have the most, bitter rivals face each other in the division championship every single, year, so that the ratings are just enormous. And to have it be against the Bears was, it was surreal. And just the thing that I remember most, like, when that clock hit 0, the sound in Soldier Field, like, because there were so many Bears fans, right? But there was a fair, a decent amount of Packer fans, not as much as there normally is, because obviously Chicago was good. There were tons of Bears fans. That quiet but semi-loud Packer section, like, was unbelievable. Like, it was like dead silent, but then you just hear a loud, like, semi-muted but loud section, like, off in the distance, for the Packers fans just cheering. And it was like, it was cold. That maybe that's why it gave me the chills, but it was just like a wild, surreal moment. You're celebrating with guys, and it's like almost dead silent in there. And you're hearing the thank you for a great season fans, on the PA from the Bears people. And it's like, it was awesome. Like, it was just so cool. And it's just something that you'll never forget. Then obviously the Super Bowl, and, I remember that week of practice in Dallas was probably the best week of practice, that even up to my last down as the Green Bay Packer, was the best week of practice that any team I've been on has ever had. Like, it was the most physical. It was the cleanest practices that I ever experienced. The energy, the tempo, the focus was unmatched. Like, they were unbelievable practices. And I think that gave guys confidence that, like, we're getting this done one way or another. We're going to win this football game. We understand how good the Steelers were, And, for me, I knew like the edge rushers, right? Like Woodley and Harrison, like I understood what type of game it was going to be. Like these two guys are absolute studs. They're going to pick on the rookie. And all week it was like, I remember someone told me a quote, like Jared Allen was talking about the game, and he said something like, there's no way the rookie's going to be able to hold up against Woodley and Harrison all game. And, I've gone against the Vikings already twice that season. So I'm like, this guy has played against me. And I'm like, that's real. Thanks, bud. But he never rushed me once. Like I never took one pass rep against Jared Allen my rookie year. Like he never pass rushed me once. Like, so I was just like, man, this is, thanks for that. So like, there was a lot of, for me, I felt like, I'm a really young guy playing in this game and, going against experienced, really good rushers. And there's a spotlight on that. And that's going to be something that the Steelers are going to try to expose, right? They're going to try to expose a weakness somewhere. And they're probably going to think, can we do that to the rookie? And can we rattle him on a big stage? And can we do that? Can we bring pressure to that side? And can we confuse him and mix things up and rattle him that way? And they tried everything. They did. I mean, they brought fire zones, they stunts, straight rush. I mean, they did everything. They put Harrison over there. Woodley was over there. I mean, they did a bunch of things. And it wasn't easy. I mean, it was a tough game. But we felt so confident going into that. Like it was crazy how confident like the group felt. That the result that didn't shock me at all. It just didn't shock me.
So you talked about those guys and coming at you in your rookie. I just dawned on me right now. I can remember like really good basketball players get offended if they get guarded one-on-one. They're like, I can't believe you're not going to double team me. If you're an offensive lineman, is it insulting that go, hey, we're going to help you double team this guy, or I'm going to have this guy chip somebody going out? Like, do you want to take that guy just one-on-one? And if you don't, let me have him one-on-one, or do you welcome like, no, I'll take some help, man. I don't want to be embarrassed in this spot.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you ask any offensive lineman, they're gonna take help when they can get it. I mean, that's just the nature of it. But with that, in the scheme that we had with Coach McCarthy, the offensive linemen were on their own. That's just the way this thing was, right? This was a true West Coast offense where the 5 linemen were blocking on their own, and he wanted as many guys out in routes because the thought process was if we have more guys out in routes, the offensive linemen don't have to block as long, which means that, someone's going to be open quicker and Aaron can find him and get rid of it. I mean, that's not really the way it worked, to be honest with you. I mean, Aaron held the ball. He held the ball. We knew he was going to hold the ball, and he made a lot of special things happen when he held the ball. So, like, we understood what was happening. But listen, if they called it a thump or a chip on the DN that I was blocking, I ain't turning it down. I'm not saying no thank you. I can assure you that. And neither would Bakhtiari, neither would Clifton, neither would anybody. Yeah. Like you don't say no to those things because, in all honesty, they're rare, right? Like maybe you may get one a game, maybe 2 if you're lucky, right? And because most of the time, right, the backs on their way out, if they're leaving for a route on your side, these DNs see that and they avoid it. So the back's not even going to touch the defensive end. And most of the time, you don't want the back to touch the DN because you don't know if the back's going to touch him. So if the back hits him and he spins inside and you're not expecting it, you're getting beat for a sack because you have no idea that the back's even going to touch him. So it's kind of that, like, do I need help? Do I want help in this situation? Like, it's better to know I'm getting it than the back may chip him on his way out. Like, it's kind of a double-edged sword on it. Like, because I've had it happen where, running back leaves the backfield, chips a guy, goes inside, gets a hit on Aaron. I'm like, well, didn't really expect that. Sorry, Aaron.
So, like, it seems to me like protecting Aaron, that's an important job when you have him with your quarterback. We always heard so often from him when you guys are like, if you're the wide receiver, you got to earn his trust. Did Lyman need to get his trust too? Like, did he because his life is in your hand, right? So like, did he have that same kind of thing there where he had to be like, okay, I can trust that guy on that side of me and that, to take care of me?
I think so. I especially, I mean, I felt it as a rookie. When I started that first game against Washington, against Arakpo, it felt like it took him some time to trust that I was going to hold up, that I was going to do my job. And it's not like he didn't trust that I could do it, but listen, man, it hurts to get hit by those DNs. And I understand that. So like, it takes some time to trust, and just kind of get a feel for how a tackle is going to set up on a bull rush, how far he's going to get pushed back, or is he going to run DNs high and wide? Does the quarterback need to step up into the B gap? There's certain things that Aaron did so well that tackles and offensive linemen need to adjust to him as well. Like there was a lot of times Aaron would tell me, hey, let the guy beat you upfield. I'm stepping up through the B gap. And you'd look at him and go, you mean like, let him beat me upfield? He goes, yeah, let him beat you upfield. I'm going to step up. And you're like, okay. Like, so you would let the DN, you would really soft set him and give up your outside hip, let him run up the field. And next thing you know, Aaron would be right past you on your inside hip, running through the B gap and throwing a strike. So like, it just takes time to get that, continuity between, the offensive lineman and Aaron. And thankfully for me, I was playing next to Sitton at the time, and obviously Aaron trusted Sitton so well because Sitton was so good and so smart that he knew that Josh would get me on the same page with him to make sure that I was doing what I needed to do from a mental standpoint. The physical standpoint thing was something that you earn that trust through what you do on tape, right? You do that through how your performances go, and early in that season, my rookie year when I was starting, I had never played right tackle before in my entire career. I didn't do it in training camp. I didn't do it in college. I'd never done it. So my first few games were a little rough, man. Like, I mean, I did good against Arakpo, but I didn't do too good against Cameron Wake in Miami. And then I did good the next game. So like, it took me some time to figure out how to play the position from that side of the field. But then once I got it down and I felt good and it became more natural to me, I evened out and I felt like the trust level went up, just like any other, I think, position group with the quarterback, right? I mean, with the receiver, it is enormous. Like, right? I mean, he's throwing the ball, trusting to be in certain spots. But, I mean, it's certainly there with him, with the linemen and expecting guys to pick up stunts and pick up pressures and all that nonverbal, communication that, you expect to be there, seeing things without having to point it out. Like those are the small things that you just learn to do. And that happens through time. That just, you expect, he expects you to see something that maybe as a young guy you wouldn't have seen, but he expects you to see it as time goes on because, he's pointed it out in the past and now he just expects you to see it. And you do, like, right? Because he's told you so many times and he's pointed it out in film or he's pointed it out in practice and those things naturally happen. So it takes a little time. It always does. But, once you earn that respect, I mean, it goes a long way. That's for sure.
How much of that respect and trust was built during O-line dinners on Thursday nights?
A bunch.
The quarterback was invited, I think.
Oh, yeah. He went to every one of them. He went to every one. He never missed one. And it was awesome, dude. He like that, that's what people don't get about him or don't understand about him. They think he's like he would stay at home and wouldn't talk to anyone. I mean, he was at every offensive line dinner. He was the last guy to leave. He was always there early. Like it wasn't like he showed up late and stayed for 10 minutes and left. Like he was always there early. He was the last guy to leave. He greeted everyone from the oldest vet to the, practice squad guys. So like, he was awesome and joking with everyone, talking with everyone. Those O-line dinners were awesome. Like, you talk a little football early on, but then you just talk about, life and you just anything. And that's when you get to know guys, right? And that's when you connect on a more personal level than how you connect in the building when you're talking ball and it's all business. And those are the things that normally, I mean, if you ask any guy, at least it is for me, those are the things that you miss more than anything, right? Like, I mean, yes, you love suiting up and running out of the tunnel. Like, and playing games and winning. Like those things, you can't replace that. But the things that I always miss most is like O-line dinners, or banter in the locker room. Like those are or in the O-line room. Like you can't replace that in real life. Because you'd get fired if you did it, right? Like if you said half the stuff in a normal workplace environment, you would be fired instantly. But it's just like you can't recreate it. Like it's impossible, and that camaraderie and everything that goes along with how much effort and how much like goes into like an NFL season and how much you guys care about each other and spend time with each other and all that, like you can't replace it or recreate it. And that's I think what people misunderstand about him too, like how much he cared about the guys and especially the linemen. Like, and I know he's close with a lot of wide receivers and a lot of those guys are his buddies, but like, don't get me wrong. Like he was close with a lot of the linemen. Like he was very close with a lot of the guys and we had a lot of good times. We'll just put it that way. We had a lot of good times and a lot of fun.
What was your favorite spot for O-line dinner? What was the restaurant of choice?
We went to Rustique a bunch. Rustique was amazing. Joe, the owner, shout out to Joe. Always took care of us. Pizza's great. Food. It was always fantastic. He'd sit us outside, especially in the winter too. When it got cold, he'd bring out the space heaters, and we'd have 3 or 4 space heaters, so it'd be nice and warm. It was awesome. We did Rustique all year round. It was great.
That's awesome.
So I think the other thing that people maybe don't appreciate as much as they should, and I speak to maybe one half of the co-hosts on this thing, whether it was how Aaron exited or what he does with the Jets, I don't know that anybody really appreciates how good his good was. Like you saw a lot of guys play. I've seen guys play for, like his good was like when Tiger Woods was good, and you've seen that.
Yep. It's hard. It's hard to even think about it because people. Things like that people forget about it, right? Like, and it's unfortunate. You go back and watch things on YouTube or watch clips and see how great it was because it was unbelievable. Like the runs that he would go on, his touchdown to pick ratio obviously is unmatched by anybody. It's absurd. But just some of the throws that he would make, like nobody makes those throws. Like they just don't make them. You would see it every day in practice, and you would become numb to it, right? Like, shame on us, especially the guys that he played with for becoming numb to it, because that's you saw it so often that they were like, oh, good throw, 12, like you know what I mean, and like you would move on to the next play, but then you'd watch it on film. And you would be like, that is so sick. Like, what was that? Like, how did he, he's rolling out left and he fires a ball across the field sidearm, like on a dot between 2 defenders, the Devontae or Jordan. Like, you're just like, how do you, what is that? Like, how do you do that? And then he would go out on Sunday and do it there. And you're like, well, can't say he didn't do it in practice. You can't say like, oh, well, that was a one-off. Like, no, he did it constantly. And like, it was like, and again, like I talked about Atlanta in, that Super Bowl run, like nothing like epitomizes that more than that game, right? Like that game was probably the best best display of quarterbacking I've ever seen. Like, I don't think it gets any better than what he did in that game. Like, we're talking like doing spin moves out of like John Abraham, the DN's like clear run for a sack, like doing spin moves out of that and getting out of that, and then throwing a 30-yard rope down the field for like on a dime and completing a pass. Like, just like stuff that doesn't happen in real life. He was doing it and making it look easy. I think he had like 3 incompletions that day and threw it like 34 times. Like, it was crazy. Like, and it was easy. Like, he made it look like it was nothing. And like, it's gonna be hard to see that again. Like, right? It's not gonna be something that you see again from another QB. Like, because it's not easy. Now, I'm not saying that there's not really talented quarterbacks like but his ability and what he was able to do, I'm not sure like there's no one right now playing from a quarterback standpoint that can do what he did when, obviously, we're talking about when you mentioned, like, when his good.
Yeah.
Like, there's no one right now that can do it.
5 incompletions. He was 31 of 36.
Yeah, 35. Sorry, 31 of 30.
Maybe dirted one in there. He probably didn't, even that. He didn't.
Yeah, he might have dirted one. Yeah. Good point.
Bryan, we asked John Kuhn to give us a story from behind the scenes of the Super Bowl, and he said that him and Sitton ended up in a bar somewhere in the stadium with an open tap of Coors Light and a bottle of Patron. What do you got? How do you beat that? What's something behind the scenes from the Super Bowl that we wouldn't know that you can actually share?
Well, yeah, no. It makes sense that he wouldn't forget that TJ and I were right next to him, because I had a bottle of Jack Daniels right next to him at the same bar around the side of it. It was funny because, we're waiting for the bus to leave, and guys are in the locker room doing media, so obviously it's going to take a long time. And I remember we all pulled up to that bar, that you walk through to get to the locker room, and the bartender's he's like, well, guys, I'm off shift, so you guys just won the Super Bowl, so hey, take what you need. He goes, I'm off duty. So we pulled the bottle of Jack Daniels out, poured ourselves some drinks, and John and Sitton and TJ, we were just all there hanging out, waiting until we got told that the buses were leaving. And that was, we sat at that bar for probably 45 minutes, no food in our stomach, but just drinking cocktails, talking about the game. And that's what it was.
A lot of good stuff. Awesome. So for the most of your career, you're playing, and you got McCarthy, and then your last thing, you go from McCarthy to LaFleur to was it Anthony Lynn, and then to Staley. What's it like when you think everything about the NFL because you've been in there for 7-8 years, that all of a sudden you're like, wow, there's a whole different NFL that maybe I'm not used to.
Yeah, it was a culture shock for me going out to LA. I'll put it that way. It was a culture shock for me. And listen, the one thing that I will say, my time in LA, it clearly didn't go the way I wanted it to, right? My body and the injuries I sustained, the surgeries that I had to have, it didn't pan out the way I wanted it to go. But I will say that the coaches that I had, Anthony Lynn, obviously I only had him for a season, and it was a COVID season. So I barely got to know Anthony Lynn. Unfortunately, I didn't even get to go in the building when I signed my contract at home. I didn't get to meet anybody. Even when I showed up for training camp, I barely met anybody. Wow. It was a very awkward situation. And it was a weird dynamic. And then obviously, Anthony Lynn, doesn't get brought back, and they hire Staley, and he was a very energetic young coach, had a lot of positivity. I enjoyed my time with him. But it was just one of those things that changes needed to be made in different levels than just coaching. Like there needed to be more wholesale changes there. And I think they're on the right path now. With Harbaugh, and I think they've made some other changes throughout, throughout their structure, so to speak. But I got to see a little bit more of the NFL that I was so sheltered from in Green Bay. And that was, and I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing, right? I will say this though, it makes me appreciate Green Bay a lot more, and how much I enjoyed my time there, because I'm not sure that I could have been in the model that I was in LA my entire career, because how Green Bay sets it up for the players, it's all about the players, and it's all about winning. That's what it is. They give the players everything humanly possible to win games. And that's it. That's all they care about is winning. And they give the players everything. So and I'm not saying other owners don't, but there's other things going on within other teams with ownership structures that they're worried about, right? There's profits that they worry about, right? There's certain things that these owners care about. Yeah, Green Bay cares about the profit, but that profit gets put back into the team one way, shape, or form, right? And that's the thing that I always found like really cool, that there was always something new going on at the stadium or in the locker room or in the building, improvement happening every offseason. There was construction going on in the building. Like they were improving stuff for the players or adding something in, or like it was always happening. And that's just because like every year, like, hey, we got to improve this for the players, or we need to add this for the players. And it was always, you could always feel that like, hey, we need to do this to maybe get us over the edge. And that to me was like the clearest sign, like this is all about like the players and winning. And I don't know if that's the case everywhere in the NFL.
So you eventually came back, you got to sign and do the retirement thing as a Packer. That NFC Championship game you lose to the 49ers, I don't recall back at the time. Did you know that you probably were done and moving on at that point? I'm just wondering if you had any moment where you're like, okay, I'm going to drink this in, even though it's disappointing as hell that we just got beat.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know for a fact. We hadn't communicated at that point about a contract at all. And normally in the prior contract, we didn't either. But I had an idea that I thought it was like 50-50 at that point, right? Like I may come back, I may not. I don't know yet. But at that point, it was 50-50. But I did, like you said, at the end of that game, I mean, it was disappointing. But I did stay on the field a little while longer and kind of absorb that in, because I had a feeling that it could be my last time, putting on that jersey and wearing that helmet. So I did spend a little extra time and sat in the locker room a little bit longer and soaked it in, because you kind of, you sit in that locker at the end, and obviously the media comes in, but when it's almost the end of the line, you kind of like go back through everything, right? Like it makes you kind of go back to the start and think about everything and kind of the career path and your ups and downs. And that's what I did. And it was really quick, obviously, because, there's more time to reflect later on once, you get back down to home base. But in the moment, you just go through all the moments like really quick through your head. And you start with that Super Bowl and you go on and all the positives and negatives. Then you end with what happened in San Francisco. But at that time, I didn't know what they were going to. I didn't really know what was going to happen until probably, what was it? April? No, not April. When is free agency? March, end of March or something like that. I don't know when free agency even is anymore.
Yeah.
But I knew probably early March, when we hadn't heard anything, that there was no discussion that like, hey, we're not going to re-sign Bryan. Like there was no conversation. And at that point, I just assumed they're moving on.
We got to move on. We're going to wrap it up with Bryan Bulaga in 2 minutes. The lightning round is next. The Inside Wisconsin Show.
The Inside Wisconsin Show is brought to you by American Family Insurance, Blaine's Farm and Fleet, Capital Credit Union, Amplify Health, Festival Foods, Quick Trip, Legit Pizza, Miller Lite, North Star Mohican Casino Resort, and the University of Wisconsin-Platteville.
Hey, remember to subscribe on YouTube. Leave a review. Smash the like button. Just get with us. Jay, do you guys do a family gift exchange for the Christmas season? Do you sit down and like roll dice and somebody opens this gift, do you pass them around, or none of that?
We do not do that. We have them. When was the last time we did that? Like, a lot of people I think came to Connecticut, and then we did that. We have some people around, but otherwise no. And the family has shrunk some, so I take care of my sister and my brother-in-law, and vice versa. But there have been times we've done it, but not a bunch. You?
We do an awesome gift exchange every Christmas Eve, and almost always there's a 12-pack or a case of Miller Lite in there.
Sure. That gets traded around a bunch, right? You don't want to get that first, because forget it. It's done. You're out.
Well, it depends how this goes, because if it's a 12er, I will. If let's just say I open it up first, right? And there's a 12-pack of Miller Lite right there. I am opening that up, and a 12-pack turns into a 8-pack or a 6-pack pretty often by the end
I
of the
just
game.
point out that because usually the 12-pack is right, it's in a nice little case. It works out. Like you can get like 8 beers on your person that I learned that going into the game the other day. Like your back pocket, you got a couple in the pouch, there's one in the hood, you got the walk-in beer. Like it's amazing how many that you can saddle up
I appreciate that.
Carry at one point. Yeah, that's
I believe we stopped at a tailgate and you were like, all right, I'm ready for one. I went, bloop, there it is. I got one in my back pocket.
Like you had a 6-shooter, like here it is, bam.
Oh man, that was fun. And I certainly held up my own in the Miller Lite drinking category, but it was a good time. Making memories at year-end gatherings tastes like Miller time. Go to MillerLite.com/Inside Wisconsin to find delivery options near you, or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. Tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. Fewer calories and carbs than premium light beer. I don't know if I told you this, by the way. Deer Camp, they sell Miller Lite in 30 packs back home in Jefferson County. Big fan. Really appreciate that.
Yeah, these things. I don't know that that's necessarily a new thing, but good for you. I can remember.
You don't do it up here.
I went out and saw a buddy of mine in New Jersey one time, and there was an 8-pack, and we're like, now that's somebody thinking. You know, like we can't be constrained by normal, math. You got to do more stuff. But no, it wasn't even the shorties when it came through. But yeah, the 30-pack is. I think college towns do 30 packs too.
They do.
Although I'm surprised for Deer Camp, you didn't just have just a keg and just put it out there.
I had to go hunting.
Do you have? I didn't even see in the new house. Do you have a keginator or whatever it is, a refrigerator with the?
Not yet, but there will be one.
That's what I thought.
I bought a tower from Lambeau. Did I tell you this? I went to one of the Lambeau tent sales. That's where this. That's where this.
I know.
Came from.
You always find something, which is sort of amazing to me.
Thank you. We're back to wrap it up. The Inside Wisconsin show. Trevor John, Bryan Bulaga, Green Bay Packers offensive lineman. 2 for me. Then the lightning round. Here's the first one. Can you just not wear sleeves like in games? Why is that an O-line thing? Does it make you a baby? Like how? That's freaking cold, man. Why?
Yeah, you know what? Like I didn't like the feeling. Right. Like I didn't like the feeling. I mean, I always wore elbow sleeves too. So like if I wore long sleeves over elbow sleeve, like I just didn't like the feel of it. And like I always thought in my head, if I had extra cloth for a D lineman to grab, he would have grabbed it and used it to his advantage in some way, shape, or form. So I thought the less I had on, the less the D lineman could use. So like, it had nothing to do with like, oh, it makes me tougher. I just looked at it as like, first of all, I don't want to wear it with elbow sleeves. And second of all, like, what if the D lineman grabs my long sleeve and like pulls and I get like something happens? I'm like, I don't even want to risk it. Don't even get beat by a guy grabbing my long sleeve. Like, that's a good excuse. Like, yeah, save that one.
You didn't like the feeling or apparently feeling your arms either.
Yeah, it warmed up. It warmed up eventually. Eventually after 10 minutes, it's the fingers that go right. Like it's the fingers that go numb that you're most worried about. Like because when those go numb and you jam those in a face mask, that's when you have a problem. That's when things go bad.
So on that note, then, what is the coldest you've ever been? Do you remember the game where it was like, this is dumb? Because now you live in Florida because you don't like being cold anymore. What was the coldest game you played in?
So Chicago 2016. I think it was kickoff. I think the temp was, around 2. And then with the wind chill, it was like -10 or something like that. And I remember walking out of the
story.
Yeah, I remember walking out of the tunnel and where the old linemen warm up is in the shade. And I remember getting into the shade and I was like, whoa. I'm like, because like you run out of the tunnel and you're in the sun. And I'm like, okay, like it's cold, but we'll be okay. you get into that shade, and I'm like, this is bad. Like, I started shivering. I'm like, this is not good. Like, this is really not good. Like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Like, and then you start playing mind games, and like, you're like, okay, like, just like start doing like jumping around a little bit and like trying to get blood flow going. Then you start doing the O-line drills, and you eventually, just forget about it. But I remember in that game, TJ Lang put a hit on a defensive lineman, and it was the loudest sound I've ever heard in a football game because of the cold helmet.
Yeah.
It literally, I think every player on the field when it happened turned and looked, because it was like, I can't even describe the sound, but it was like, I thought like it sounded like a gunshot. Like, it was so loud. I don't know. I mean, and I looked at TJ. I'm like, "Are you okay?" like seriously, dude. Like, he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm good. I'm good." I'm like, "Okay." Like, that did not sound okay.
No.
Like, that did not. I don't know how you created that sound, but good Lord, dude. Like, but that was probably the coldest though.
Got it.
So I'm assuming Trevor meant football. I thought you were going to say like, well, I was in a duck blind one time, man. And it was 3 in the morning. It was just brutal. Okay, good. It was a football question. You never know. All right, I'm going to fire these off. All right, just come at me quick. Where's your Super Bowl ring?
Safe.
Where? House, bank?
House, right behind me.
Where's the last time you wore it?
That one.
2 years ago.
Got it. For people that don't know, I'm not sure Trevor's involved in this. What does ANF stand for?
America needs farmers.
You bet they do. High school, here are your stats. 261 career tackles, 46 for loss, 31 sacks. Tell me about the one interception.
Oh, my one interception. My sophomore year, I intercepted a pass in a playoff game, ran it back for 6.
Oh, on
Let's
top
go.
of that, we were a pick 6.
Yep, pick 6, my sophomore year.
That's fantastic. I know you've had some injuries through your career. Tell me if you actually blocked for these guys. Graham Harrell.
Yes.
Matt Flynn.
Yes.
Tolzian.
Yes.
Seneca Wallace.
Yes.
Did you? I thought you were out that year. Okay, good.
What year was Seneca?
2013.
No, I wasn't. I thought who was? Yeah, no, then I didn't block for Seneca.
Funniest teammate.
TJ.
Yeah.
TJ.
Favorite assistant coach, but he can't be the offensive line coach.
Favorite assistant coach. I would say, oh man, that's tough. I loved Kevin Green. He was I loved KG. He was awesome.
Rest his soul.
Yeah.
Do you have a most memorable block?
Not a most memorable one. I just, not one comes to mind. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, nothing most memorable, unfortunately.
Did you ever take a holding call because you thought, crap, Aaron's going to be killed?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hey, truth is truth. How different does your body feel at 260 pounds compared to 330?
Enormous. My back, my knees, ankles feel like completely different. I can actually like run. I can actually like do things that if I weighed 300 pounds, I could not do.
Okay. The Lombardi Trophy weighs 7 pounds. How much does Floyd of Rosedale weigh?
I think Floyd weighs like 38 pounds.
Floyd weighs 98 pounds.
Oh.
He's huge.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which one am I thinking of then? I don't know which one I'm thinking of then.
The Cyhawk Trophy or something.
Maybe that.
Listen, I'm a track guy, so I got to ask this. Could you outrun your wife in a 40?
Right now or like in our prime?
Primes.
Probably not. She could probably beat me.
Yeah, she was good. I don't know if you know that, Trevor. She was on the roster at the University of Iowa. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah, she could probably beat me.
Best place to go for a cocktail in Iowa City. My sister went there. I know some of these haunts. Let me know.
Ooh, my stomping run was always sports column, but right now I would go to the Airliner. Airliner's good.
Best club in your golf bag?
I would say probably a 7-iron. I love it. It's my 180 to 185 stick. It's my go-to. Love it.
I got a step on mine to hit at 155. Congratulations on that. In an hour-long radio program with Homer True in your current media life, how many minutes do you get to speak?
He gives me out of the hour program. He probably gives me around 25 to 30 minutes, depending.
Good for you. Okay, high school. I have you number 59. Yes.
Senior year, yeah.
Okay. Iowa 79.
Yep.
NFL 75.
Yep.
I found a picture of you. I think it's you wearing number 23 on the internet. What was that guy, and who was he playing for?
23 on the internet. Football?
Yeah.
Was that football?
Yeah.
Oh, might have been the Raiders. My Pee Wee football. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's Pee Wee football.
Look at that guy.
Yeah.
That 23 is a tailback, dude.
Yeah, I played fullback. Yeah, I played fullback.
That's awesome.
I had to stay under striper level. So like I was losing weight as an 8th grader or 7th grader, whatever I was, to stay under striper. So like I was under 150 pounds. My dad made me walk and run before weigh-ins. Like, because you would weigh in before the week, you'd have to be underweight.
But I bet all of that paid off, the tight and all the thing, because what do they want in the NFL? They want guys in the end on the line with good feet.
Yep.
Like, that's everything. We talk about all this bulk, but they like guys to be dancing bears too, if you can do that.
That's right. That's how you, at the end of the day, that's how you win blocks, is with your feet. If you can move, that's how you win blocks. Like, you can make up for lack of strength, lack of size, if your body is in the proper position when it needs to be there. I was never the strongest. I didn't have the longest arms, but I could get my feet in the proper position when needed to be. And that's really the name of the game.
Trevor once fell down and broke his leg because his feet couldn't get out of a bar stool. That's why I'm going to leave this story right there, Trev.
Thanks.
Oh, no.
Appreciate you.
Oh, no.
Brian, thanks so much, man. I appreciate it. I'll see you on the next pregame show with the Packers. When's our next road game?
Good question. I don't know when the next. Yeah, I don't know when the next road game is.
We'll be there for good karma. We'll be there 3 hours before the game. Wait, I have my research staff working on it. Mom says it's Detroit game Thursday. That's late. We'll have to be up before that one.
Oh, good point. Oh, yeah, it's a Thursday game. Yeah.
We'll see you for that. Thanks, Brian.
Yep, appreciate it, guys.
We want you to do a whole lot more than just save money. We want your money to grow, just like your dreams. We want you to achieve financial well-being and the feelings that go along with that. Capital Credit Union, doing the right thing.
Yeah, legit, John, when Breno signed with Seattle, it was the 2010 season. We were actually hanging out with him, and I got to go in the locker room, help him clear out his locker, and then he wrote a message on the whiteboard. And to Brian's point, there was a lot in it. But at the end of the day, it's like, you're going to win the Super Bowl. And this was very early in the season. So for that to happen, I believe Breno requested a ring, if I do remember.
So I don't know who all gets rings. It's not like baseball where they don't always give you the ring, but they'll vote you a playoff share. Like, here, we're not going to give you any jewelry, but here's $30,000 for the 30 games you played for us. We appreciate your efforts when that came through. I always love when we talk to Packers that are of your generation that played on Super Bowl teams, because I look at you and I just think you're having such joy that you're like, why did we limit this show to an hour? Because if that guy would stay and talk for 3 hours, you'd have been there, rapt attention for 3 hours.
Seriously. Once the show, I told you, I forget I'm co-hosting with you and I'm just listening. So fun.
Like, those are your guys. And it's funny to watch you just log in there. You're like, he's just, I could just keep talking if I wanted to. And he'd just watch. And, and 3 hours later, you're like, I got to, you get to watch outtakes if that's the case when that happens.
True.
Good for you.
And how funny that John Kuhn and Sitton didn't remember that him and TJ were right around the corner at the same bar.
Well, I mean, given what they had just won and apparently the readily available supply of liquor, they're lucky they remembered anybody other than their own two, so that's probably why. At some point, right, it's like, how many fingers am I holding up? Yeah, 2. And so that's maybe all they remembered.
Well,
when it came through.
Luckily for us, you have an incredible memory, not only with sports, but your childhood. So take us down the lane of John, Wisconsin. What is the tale this week?
So I'll tell you this, when they matched Bryan and I up for Good Karma's pregame show, Green Bay game day. And so we're meeting for the first time. We're having a little, and I said, before we do this, Bryan, I got to let you know, you're a Hawkeye and you're kind of my mortal enemy. It's not like Kansas, right? That awful. But as a kid, the first college football game I ever went to was an Iowa-Wisconsin game in 1974. I was 9 years old. And my uncle, who was a huge Iowa fan, my Uncle Norm, and so many of Mom's relatives lived over there. And so we go to the game down in Kinnick Stadium in Iowa. And it's our family and Uncle Norm. And I had a cousin, NJ, God rest his soul, who is a year older than I am. And he's there. And anyway, so then this morphed into this giant family event. Like, to me, it was way more fun than Thanksgiving, even though it was always about the same time. It was always there the second week in November. The one time they changed it to like the second week in October happened to be the year my sister got married. So like we were all like, they didn't start the wedding. We had it close, but the game hadn't finished up. So we were listening in the church. Okay, Iowa wins. We move on. Say, all right, dude. So we'd gone to this thing year and year, and we went for, I don't know, 10, 12, 15 years. Some other family members would say, can we go? And we're like, no. But we used to, like, we didn't want them to come, but we were very nice. We're like, it's so hard to get the number of tickets we need. And so we always were like, it's like everything. We had a ticket problem, but we did. Like, we'd get tickets. My uncle had tickets. My neighbors that we grew up with, Mrs. Bailey was a nurse, and she'd gone to Wisconsin. Sometimes we get tickets. So we went to this game all the time, and it was literally the highlight of my childhood, except for the problem. This is why Bulaga's on my list. We won in 74. We being Wisconsin, God bless Billy Merrick, who should have won a Heisman. We lose in 75, that's at Kinnick. Then in 1976, we go to Camp Randall, and the Badgers win. 76, I'm 11 years old. That year, we started this tradition where we had a hot dog candle. My uncle and I, we would, the loser at half, who was behind, had to buy hot dogs. And at the end of the game, he had to buy hot dogs. So we had this hot dog candle that we found at Wicks and Sticks down at the old Port Plaza Mall. And it looked like a hot dog, right? And it had ketchup and relish, and it was a brilliant color at the time. It's still in use. It still gets traded back and forth to the winner. Wisconsin lost it this year, so it's back in Kansas City at my Uncle Norm's. It is so faded that you would not know what it was. If I showed it to you now and go, "What is this?" You would go like, nope. It's a crab. I don't know. It could be a hot dog. It looks like roadkill, and yet it's still always there. So here's this hot dog. 1970, 75, 76, we win. Next year, we get the hot dog, 77. I'm 11. I don't get the hot dog until I'm 32 years old and live in Phoenix.
Wow.
Hayden Fry comes in, and they win 20 straight years. There was one tie. They tied once. That was, I think it was a freshman year, sophomore year. Like 1984, they tied at 10, cold, cold day in Madison. And the years the Badgers went to the Rose Bowl, because Penn State had come in, they didn't play the Hawkeyes. So the year that we're going to beat them, no, they don't play because of stupid Penn State. So literally they won in 1976, and they don't win again until 1997. I step off a plane. I'm in the Cardinals charter to call a game, to go to a game in November. I think we were in Dallas. And the first thing I do is I call my Uncle Norm, and I'm like, had to be a payphone. That's on. Send me the dog. Here's my address, and send that SOB to me as soon as you can. 20 years I went without this thing. I thought that when I got the dog, I was in Kennedy grade school. When I got it, I was a professional working in Phoenix. That means Kennedy, Lombardi, Southwest, Missouri, K2L, KOTV, and finally I was at KPHO before I got the damn dog.
Jeez.
So I just want people to know what a really kind, empathetic human being I was to be that nice to Bulaga, because that SOB and those Hawkeyes ruined my childhood.
That's awesome.
My childhood.
Oh my gosh.
I know. I didn't tell you it was going to be a happy John Wisconsin story. I'm just telling you it's a story.
Okay. Well,
20
hopefully
years.
the Badgers can
And by the
turn
way,
it around.
one time I saw Hayden Fry. I was now I'm even older because I'm in Connecticut, and my aunt. By the way, they loved Hayden Fry. My aunt, she's passed away too. She used to send him like Texas pralines. She just sent him food because they were so happy that Hayden Fry was there and changed their program. She'd send him candy at the holidays or whatever the hell it was. And I was at the National Football, college football at the Waldorf Hall of Fame induction. And I got to meet him for the first time. And I said, boy, what a pleasure it is to meet you tonight. And oh, by the way, I just want you to know, you ruined my childhood for 20 years and my teenage years and most of my young adulthood too. But he was really kind. And he was just like, we always did seem to just he had this Texas drawl, just seemed to have the best luck ever, against for whatever reason we had. And I'm like, yeah, for whatever reason it was. I didn't care about the reason. I just know I ended up on the wrong side and didn't have the hot dog till it was old. And, you looked at it like literally, if I handed it to you, you'd be like, I don't know, it's a bobblehead that went sad. It's just, yeah. But my sister,
hot dog record now?
And my sister recently entertained the idea. She sent a picture of a hot dog that she saw at Target or something. She goes, hey, do you think we need a new one of this? And everybody's like, no, why are you even thinking something like that? It's sacrilegious. Of course not. Why would you do that? So I do have somewhere the overall, when my Aunt Susie, Aunt Suze, she had, what was it, Mom? Was it her birthday? What was it, her anniversary that we made her the book? And I made a synopsis. I wrote a little game notes of every game that had happened. And when it came. And so at some point, like the Badgers had like an 18-game lead in the series, and now they're behind, which is how bad it was. But it is if you probably ask me my favorite memory of childhood would be going to Iowa, Wisconsin games. It was the best. Even if Bulaga and those guys screwed it up.
Well, it's a good time then to say thanks to Bryan Bulaga for joining us on the
good
show
for him.
today.
Love
We
it.
appreciate
Good
you
man.
chatting. That was fun. You're awfully nice to him on the radio when you guys do all that. So, I mean, that's all under the rug.
I got nothing but respect for the guy,
Love it.
So
And
I
the
almost got,
stories.
then the last time I went to the game, I was probably 45, 46. My uncle said, we should go one more time. And so I had a great Badger jacket, ski jacket. And you're going to find this hard to believe that I almost got in a fight.
No.
So the Badgers are favored. The Hawkeyes have like their 7th string running back, and they just kick the crap out of them. We're in Kinnick Stadium. And so every time they score, right, they wave their flag, and they all go IOWA around the corner. So it's 38-4 or whatever, and I stand up and I just yell, it's not that hard a word to spell. And this dude about 4 rows in front of me was ready to fight. And he's just yelling. I'm like, he's going, look at the score. I'm like, right. That's why. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, you're killing me. But if this guy had been 4 rows above me, he would have dived down and tried to get me. But here he couldn't. But yeah, so that was the last time I was at the game when I announced to people at Iowa that it was not that hard to spell the state. I may have to just leave right now.
Okay, let's get out of here. Let's be done.
See you, buddy.
For John, I'm Trevor. As you are Wisconsin, thanks, Blue. Remember to subscribe on YouTube, leave a review, smash the like button. Just get with us.
The Inside Wisconsin Show is brought to you by American Family Insurance, Blaine's Farm and Fleet, Capital Credit Union, Amplify Health, Festival Foods, Quick Trip, Legit Pizza, Miller Lite, North Star Mohican Casino Resort, and the University of Wisconsin-Platteville.
Shut up and sit down.